Hey guys, thanks for checking out This Is Aaron's Life. In this video, we're going to talk about the final piece of the Building a Successful Development Team series, just kind of a wrap-up, discuss some of the things we talked about in the other articles, and just kind of some final insight. Really, the key and underlying element, you'd say like the foundation of the life of a development team, the thing that's going to really lend to your success more than anything is communication. And I know that we actually dedicated one part just to communication, but if you look at it, communication is kind of a key element of each piece, and whether the development team actually has like the most designers or the smartest .NET developers or the most intuitive, insightful marketing people and project managers that can just push things through and get things done. The key thing in all of that is communication. No matter how much talent, experience, and know-how we have, if we're not communicating, then we're not relaying that. We're not helping the people around us be better by passing that information on to them. So, we talked about the code and how we write our code. We talked about commenting. The way we write our code actually communicates to the next person who's going to come and pick up the piece of that project and try to move it forward to the next step. And when we write our code, you think about it, commenting is so important in breaking out the sections of a page, or this is what this is for, and it helps people. Maybe they don't really need to do anything other than add some snippets of code in here or there. So they don't need to read your whole page full of code. They just need to go to one section, or maybe they're picking up another one of the front-end developers is picking up and needing to edit some CSS. That person can just go through and write just the section they need or the style sheet they need by having a couple style sheets. And we actually do communicate when we write our code and we organize it and lay it out properly. I like to write single line, shorthand, do it quick, easy, real small, real compact code. But when I'm handing over my projects, a lot of the stuff I do on the front end, I'm handing it over to engineers who are more versed in .NET, or I'm handing it over to engineers who are going to be offshore. And so they may not be as versed in CSS. Their skill set may not lend to that being the primary skill that they have. So I need to sometimes write it out multi-line, each individual thing, so that they can see it and understand it as they recreate the pages. And a lot of times in our situation at my job, we create the front-end project, the HTML, the CSS, then we hand it over to them, and they recreate and convert it to fit into our page generation structure, and so it's done into a .NET framework. So a lot of times they have to recreate certain elements. So when I write my styles in my style sheet, it's important for me to comment things out, to write out in multiple lines what each thing is so they understand it, not always using shorthand, because they may not get that. It doesn't mean that they are, I'm communicating on their level, which doesn't mean that their level is less than mine. It just means that it's different. And so when I help communicate where they're coming from, they do that in return, and they explain to me how it would really help if I gave them projects a certain way, or if I wrote my code or commented it out a certain way so that they can just pick right up and move on. And so communication is key in that aspect. And then the next part of the series we talked about just communicating and talking, and when we're talking about deadlines and questions or misunderstanding of projects, we can avoid a lot of that just by asking questions and listening to what people have to say. And sometimes we ask a question, or we're concerned to ask because people think we don't understand, or that we weren't listening, or that they don't get it, we're not going to be able to do it. But in reality, if we just keep asking questions, even if we have the smallest amount of doubt, or we're a little unsure of what this deadline is or what exactly needed to happen or the scope of this project, we can avoid things like scope creep. We can avoid missed deadlines. We can avoid things that when they happen, why did this happen? Where did this come from? How come no one said anything? Communicate. Always be talking and communicating. And that really can help just overall everyone stay on top of where things are. We talked about using things like Camp and Skype. Those are things seriously, they're an everyday part of my life, probably just as much as eating and drinking coffee. I'm always using those things and sending out emails and talking on Skype. Just not leaving room for things to slip through the cracks. And it may take extra effort. It may sometimes feel like we're annoying people by asking again. But when we're asking and explaining to them, we're asking because we want to make sure that nothing slips through. It is beneficial. Your project managers are going to love that, because it shows that you're on the ball and you want to help this project and this product be pushed through and succeed, and you're willing to do whatever it takes. And then, obviously in the last series we talked about conflict, and sometimes it can't be avoided, but a lot of times if communication's in place the right way, then it can be avoided. And if it can't, and we have to deal with conflict, the best thing you can do is communicate. And one of the key elements of that communication is listening. Listening to what people have to say, acknowledging that you understand them, and then talking back to them will help you get past the stupid arguments. And sometimes we feel like the different departments and people have agendas. But if we're just willing to listen and take it in the scope of that, not so much their agenda, but what they are and their piece of the puzzle represents a need for the success of the project, then we're going to be all right. We're going to work through those times. And sometimes it's hard, and sometimes people just suck. I suck all the time at work. I'm sure anyone I work with can tell you that. And, if I'm communicating, listening, then we all get through that together and with our team, and we can put the differences aside. We can build foundations for good products, great projects, and move them forward. And I bet you anything, the senior management, the people who see that are so much more willing to reward our efforts because we're taking those extra steps. And so, communication really is key. It's one of the bigger parts of it all. And so we need to understand that and be finding out what it takes. I believe there's an article I wrote a long time ago called "Talk to Me," and it's about talking about different things about being a bulldog, going out there and making people communicating with them. Even if they're not willing to give up the answers, keep asking. Or if you ask for a meeting and they, oh yeah, sure, I'll talk to you in a little bit, or I'll send you this email, go back again and remind them of the meeting. Send them an email. Oh, great, I'm glad we had this meeting. We discussed these things, and from what I understand from a meeting, you said this, this, and this. These are what your expectations are. This is what you want to see. And it really helps everything be successful. So read the article. I lined out a couple things right about the end of the article about different things that we can do that will help institute communication and just attitudes and perspectives to take, principles to go by, because everyone's situation is going to be different depending on if you're actually a part of a larger development team or just you're working at a small design firm with a few other people, or even just in your relationships with your clients. A lot of these things can be applied to that if you're in a freelance situation as well. So thank you guys again for tuning in. I'm excited. We get to start putting together the pieces for the next series, and as well, I'm already getting pretty excited about next Friday's video cast, as it's gonna got some cool stuff hopefully lined up to talk about in there. So thanks, you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Please comment. Please, I don't care about really 500 visitors coming to the site but getting 2 comments. That stuff doesn't mean anything to me. I don't care about 1,000 followers but only interacting seriously with like 30 of them. I really love the interaction, and as much as I can without sacrificing my work day. I love to talk, and so send me messages if you've got questions, you just want to talk about stuff, get opinions. I love to talk. I'll give out my Skype information and chat with you all day long while I'm getting my work done. Please come to the site. I'm using the Viddler videos now so that you guys can actually comment through the video. I love it. I love the interaction. I'm a very communal-based person. I love the community. So thanks again. I appreciate it, and I will see you around.